Hello everybody and welcome back once again to Wisconsin Wonder Garden. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel for today's video. You might have received a succulent from a store such as Home Depot, or maybe even an online purchase like this succulent here that has been glued into its place in the container that you got it in. But now you want to transplant that succulent. So I'm going to show you how to do that without damaging your succulent or other plant in the process. And I'm also going to show you the different things that I look for when doing this. Let's get to it. In our situation, we have this succulent that is in this cardboard or paper container. And then there's a plastic ring that goes around the succulent and holds the water underneath. So my first step is going to be cutting out this box around it and getting that plastic insert out so I can then get to the succulent around the edges because there's not enough space to pry it out right here. Either way, our very first step is to get this succulent out of the current container by prying it out and getting around the glue on the outside of the container here. Now we're able to actually get at the substrate. As you can see, this whole thing is glued into here. So the trouble with that is that we don't want to break off the head from the main stem, not quite yet at least. That might be an option later on, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But at this point, we are going to carefully peel off and remove all of these segments of rocks as much as possible without damaging the plant. The roots I'm not worried about because the roots will grow back just fine. The real trouble is the stem. So if you can get it out of the original container and then just start breaking away the rocks, stones, pebbles, whatever the substrate is that your succulent is glued to. In our case, they really came off of the stem all the way around pretty easily. But if you do have a problem where you just cannot get the rocks off the stem and you really want to, what you can do is cut off as low as possible on that main stem. And then let your succulent sit out for a couple of days and transplant it into soil just like you would with a normal succulent cutting or propagation. In our case, I am pretty happy with the rocks that we got out of here. There might be some residual glue and compounds stuck in the roots. Right here is a pretty big section that I can just feel is all full of glue, and those roots are never really going to be healthy again. So I'm just going to cut that off, and we're going to flush out some new roots and some new growth that is going to take over all of this stuff that might have been killed from the glue in the process. I'm also going to remove any dead petals that might have been on the succulent, damaged during shipment or whatever it might be. And there we have our succulent that is ready for transplanting. Ready to grow happy and healthy like it should without this stuff glued all around it. And to transplant your succulent, just get a well-draining succulent or cactus type mix. If that's not available, go ahead and mix about 1/3 regular potting soil, 1/3 peat moss, and then 1/3 coarse sand or perlite into a mixture, and then put that into a container that has drainage. At this point, your succulent should look something like this. Dig a little bit of a hole and replace the soil around it, and it's ready to grow. Once you've transplanted your succulent, you can give it a nice and healthy watering if you didn't have to cut it off at the stem. If you did cut it off at the stem, again, let it sit for a couple of days to callus over, and then place into soil, followed by a nice watering. After that point, continue with your normal watering schedule, whether that be every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on where you live in the world and what sort of soil and container you have that succulent in. My main point is just to water it per usual after this procedure. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you'd like to see more succulent videos, click this playlist box up here. I hope you're all having a great gardening adventure. We'll catch you in the next video.